When something bad happens, many of us like to think about the details of why it may have happened, why it happened to us, why we're feeling a certain way, and how we might feel better. And we often think that thinking about events in this way, in this detailed negative way, might help us understand the event better, help us understand our emotions surrounding the event better, ultimately helping us to feel better. And this does happen sometimes. Sometimes we feel better after thinking about events, but more often than not, thinking about them in this negative, repetitive way might lead us to overthink and ruminate about the events, ultimately and unintentionally leading us to feel worse. So today in this video, I'll share with you a practical, evidence-based technique that you can use in situations like this while you're experiencing negative events or afterwards while you're thinking about them. Let's start with an example that is probably relevant to many of us, either in our past or in our present, the experience of taking a stressful test. Let's say that it's test day, you've studied a lot, you've put a lot of effort into it, you know that it's a really important test. The results might even affect the rest of your life. So now the day has come, you're sitting at your desk, you have the booklet in front of you, you open it up, you're feeling good about it, and all of a sudden you realize that you actually don't know the answer to any of the questions that are on the first page. What is the first thought that pops into your mind? If you feel comfortable, feel free to write it in the comment box down below and maybe even share with us at the end of the video. If you don't, that's fine too. Just keep these thoughts in your mind because they'll be relevant later. For me, the first thought that pops into my mind is, oh no, I don't know the answer to any of these questions. And with this thought, what are some things that you're feeling? What's coming up to your mind? What is the image that you're seeing? And what are some other thoughts that might be attached to this thought? Go ahead and write those up too. And here are my answers. Of course, my first thought was, oh no, I don't know the answer to any of these questions. And here's some other things that are coming along with that thought. First of all, I'm seeing everything from my own perspective. So what I'm seeing is the test booklet, maybe my hands over it, they're sweating, I'm feeling uncomfortable, maybe I'm shaking a little bit, I'm starting to get anxious, I'm hyper aware of everything that's happening in my body, maybe I'm even feeling my heart rate go up, my blood pressure go up, and I'm really kind of stuck in my own perspective. And along with this, my thoughts are revolving around myself. You know what? You studied a lot, but here we are, you don't know the answer to any of these questions, so all of your efforts will be wasted, you will fail, you will not know the answer to any of the rest of the questions, this is it, you may as well give up. Now let's make a tiny change to the first sentence that came to mind. Let's change the pronoun from I to something else. It could be he, she, you, or maybe let's try my first name, which is Gizem. So that sentence will now become, oh no, Gizem doesn't know the answer to any of these questions. Okay, so I'll leave it up to you to think about what's happening in your mind right now. What are you seeing? What are some of your feelings? What are some of your other thoughts? Write them up as well, or keep them in mind if you don't want to share. For me, I'm not really seeing things from my own perspective anymore. It's more like someone placed a camera maybe on the ceiling of the test room, and I'm seeing things through that lens. And in parallel to that, my thoughts have also changed. And this kind of allows me to think a little bit more rationally about it in less of a biased way, less of an emotional way. I can think, Gizem studied a lot for this. She actually put in a lot of effort and she's pretty prepared for this. So it's more than likely that it's just luck that she got the hardest questions first. And if she keeps going, she'll probably encounter more questions that she can comfortably answer. So she should just try to ignore the first few questions, maybe leave them for later, and just answer the ones that she can. And if she keeps doing this, she'll soon find out that she'll be fine, she'll pass the test, and it'll all be okay. This little linguistic shift that we made, where we changed the pronoun from I to a non-first person pronoun, is based off of a rigorously tested technique called self-distancing. And the research suggests that we can use this technique not only during events while they're happening, but also when we're thinking about negative events after they've occurred. And the easiest way to use this technique is what we did, to change the pronoun from I to a non-first person pronoun. Something like you, he, she, or them, or even your first name. I know it seems a little bit too simple to be effective, and also almost a little bit too weird to be thinking about your own experiences and your own feelings and thoughts from someone else's perspective, but years of rigorous research show that it's actually quite effective. The way that this has most often been tested is in a situation like this. Researchers create a situation where participants will feel quite stressed, something like telling them that they need to give a speech in front of a panel of experienced judges. And in experiments where they're trying to see the effectiveness of self-distancing, half of the participants are randomly assigned to a condition where they think about this speech experience that's upcoming using the pronoun I, and half of them are randomly assigned to think about it using non-first person pronouns, so anything like he, she, them, or their first name, or you even. And then all participants are then asked to give the speech itself in front of a real panel of judges, and afterwards, experienced researchers independently rate each participant on certain measures. And what we consistently find is that those who were instructed to use self-distancing techniques not only performed better, but also exuded more self-confidence. And of course, researchers also ask participants themselves how they felt while they were giving the speech, and studies find that participants report less shame and even less rumination after the fact if they were using the self-distancing techniques. Even more, studies that have looked at physiological indicators of stress, things like heart rate and blood pressure, have also found benefits, where people who use self-distancing techniques experienced lower heart rates and lower blood pressures. What are most interesting to me personally are the studies that trained little kids, 3 or 4-year-olds, to use self-distancing, finding that they not only performed better, but also persisted for much longer during boring tasks. So to sum it up, you can think of this technique as talking to yourself not as yourself, but as if you were a loving friend. Now, oftentimes in our daily lives, when something happens to us, we can have the tendency to be a little bit too judgmental, a little too emotional when things are happening to us. But if the same thing were to happen to our friend, a close friend perhaps, what we would say to them would be very different than what we say to ourselves. So we can achieve a similar effect in our own self-talk by using this simple technique. And we can even achieve a healthier and maybe more productive perspective on our problems, allowing us to solve problems instead of ruminating on them. How might you use this technique in your life? Would you use it? Have you used it? If you could share your experiences down below in the comments, other people might benefit from them as well. If you'd like to learn more about this topic or dive even deeper into the research yourself, I've left some selected resources in the description box down below. Maybe that would provide a good start. And if you'd like to see more videos like this one, please do consider giving this video a like and maybe even subscribing for more content in the future. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Take good care of yourself. Bye.